Imagine waking up every day knowing, truly knowing, that you can handle whatever life throws at you. No hesitation, no second guessing, just quiet, powerful confidence. But here's the secret most people miss. Confidence isn't something you wish for, it's something you build. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how. Rohn said, "Skill builds confidence. Confidence builds wealth." 1. Practice mastery. Confidence begins with consistent action, but mastery is far more than showing up. It is the daily, deliberate choice to refine your abilities even when progress feels invisible. Most people misunderstand mastery as a moment of sudden transformation, a dramatic leap from mediocrity to excellence. But in reality, it is a slow, intentional accumulation of repetitions, corrections, and awareness. When you practice a skill repeatedly, you are not simply memorizing motions, you are reshaping your brain, building neural pathways that make the unfamiliar feel natural and the once intimidating feel effortless. Each repetition is a vote for the person you want to become. At first, the process may feel frustrating, even discouraging. Your efforts may produce few results, your attempts may feel clumsy, and your expectations may outrun your abilities. But this discomfort is not a sign of failure. It is evidence that you are expanding your boundaries. The transition from uncertainty to familiarity happens quietly. One day you may notice that what once required your full focus now comes naturally, that challenges you once avoided now feel manageable, and that tasks you once feared are now opportunities to show your growth. Mastery is a dialogue between you and the skill. The more you give to it, the more it gives back. True mastery also requires patience because excellence grows slowly, almost imperceptibly, like a tree developing its roots before its branches. People often quit too soon because they expect mastery to feel dramatic. But those who persist long enough discover that greatness is built through consistency, not intensity. Small, repeated actions done with intention create a foundation of ability that no amount of motivation can replicate. Confidence built through mastery is unshakable because it is earned. You don't have to convince yourself you're capable. You know you are because you've done the work. And the more you practice, the more you transform your relationship with mistakes. Rather than fearing them, you welcome them as information, as feedback, as stepping stones toward your next level. Mastery teaches discipline, resilience, and humility. It reminds you that no matter how far you've come, there is always room to grow, refine, and evolve. The point of mastery is not perfection but progress, the ongoing pursuit of higher standards and deeper understanding. Over time, the discipline you develop through practice spills into other areas of your life, strengthening your confidence in your ability to learn, adapt, and overcome new challenges. Confidence is not the absence of doubt, it is the presence of preparation. When you practice deliberately and consistently, you create a reservoir of competence that supports you even when your emotions waver. And in this way, mastery becomes more than a skill. It becomes a mindset, a way of approaching life with persistence, intention, and self-belief. 2. Study relentlessly. Competence grows when you feed your mind, and confidence follows competence like a shadow. To study relentlessly is not merely to absorb information, but to adopt a posture of curiosity toward the world, to treat knowledge as fuel for your ambition rather than a chore. When you read, listen, observe, and learn from those who've already walked the path, you shorten your learning curve and multiply your wisdom. Every book you open, every mentor you observe, every question you ask becomes another tool in your intellectual arsenal. The more you expose yourself to ideas, experiences, and perspectives, the more patterns you recognize, and the more prepared you become to handle complex situations with clarity. Studying relentlessly is an act of respect for your future self. It is acknowledging that the challenges ahead deserve a mind sharpened by learning and prepared by understanding. It also teaches humility, because the more you learn, the more you become aware of your own limitations. Yet this awareness empowers rather than diminishes you. It reminds you that ignorance is a temporary condition, correctable through effort. Relentless study is not about memorizing facts, but about cultivating insight, discernment, and strategic thinking. It trains you to anticipate obstacles, identify opportunities, and make informed decisions. People who stop learning often become trapped in outdated beliefs, repeating the same mistakes because they rely only on past experience rather than expanding their intellectual toolkit. But when you study consistently, you maintain a flexible and adaptive mind, capable of adjusting to new realities. Learning from others also gives you confidence because you realize you are not alone on your journey. Countless people have already faced the problems you are dealing with, and many have written, spoken, or taught the solutions you seek. Their failures become your warnings, their successes become your blueprint, and their wisdom becomes your compass. When you study relentlessly, you build an internal library of knowledge that strengthens your decision-making and expands your sense of possibility. The more you know, the less room there is for fear, because fear thrives in uncertainty and ignorance. Knowledge, on the other hand, brings clarity, and clarity brings confidence. Relentless study also supports mental resilience. It teaches you to question assumptions, to analyze problems objectively, and to remain calm under pressure because you understand the mechanics of the situation rather than reacting emotionally. Ultimately, studying relentlessly is a lifelong commitment to growth. It is the recognition that your mind is your greatest asset, and that feeding it regularly ensures you remain empowered, capable, and confident in any environment you step into. 3. Celebrate progress. Every win matters, but most people ignore their small victories, assuming they only deserve to celebrate once they achieve something dramatic or visible. This mindset starves motivation and blinds you to the reality of your growth. True confidence is built not only through achievement, but through acknowledgement, recognizing the effort, discipline, and resilience you invest each day. When you celebrate progress, you reinforce the idea that your actions matter, that the small steps you take are meaningful, and that you are capable of moving forward even when progress feels slow. Celebrating progress is not arrogance, it is fuel. It rejuvenates your spirit, strengthens your commitment, and reminds you of how far you've already come. Much of human motivation is emotional, not logical. Even if you understand the value of long-term goals intellectually, it is the feeling of progress that keeps you moving during difficult seasons. When you pause to acknowledge your growth, you create a positive feedback loop. Effort leads to recognition, which creates more effort, leading to more recognition, and so on. This cycle builds momentum. Recognizing small improvements also shifts your focus from what is lacking to what is expanding. It trains your mind to see possibility rather than deficiency. Progress becomes your compass rather than perfection. Celebrating progress also strengthens resilience because it gives you evidence, real, tangible proof that you are capable of improvement. When setbacks occur, as they inevitably do, this evidence becomes a source of inner stability, reminding you that you have overcome challenges before and can do so again. Small victories accumulate into major transformations, but only if you honor them along the way. People often assume that confidence comes from big accomplishments, but confidence actually comes from repeated confirmation that your actions lead to results. Even the smallest improvement, when noticed, becomes a brick in the foundation of self-belief. Celebrating progress also encourages gratitude, helping you appreciate your journey rather than constantly comparing yourself to an imagined ideal. When you acknowledge your progress, you shift from impatience to appreciation, from discouragement to empowerment. You become more present, more self-aware, and more capable of sustaining long-term effort. And perhaps most importantly, celebrating progress reconnects you with the joy of growth. It reminds you that improvement is not a burden, but a privilege, that becoming a better version of yourself is a journey worth savoring, not merely a destination worth reaching. In doing so, you cultivate a deeper, more enduring confidence, one rooted not in outcomes, but in your ongoing evolution. 4. Teach others. Teaching others is one of the most transformative ways to amplify your own learning, sharpen your competence, and strengthen your confidence. Because the act of explaining forces you to revisit what you know, break it down into clearer ideas, and confront the gaps you may have ignored. When you teach, you learn twice. Once when you first acquire the knowledge, and again when you must articulate it in a way that makes sense to someone else. Many people underestimate how powerful this process is. They see teaching as something reserved for experts. Yet in reality, teaching is one of the very things that makes someone an expert. When you try to communicate a concept simply, your mind reorganizes the information, filters out the noise, and highlights the essence. You shift from passive familiarity to active mastery. What was once a vague understanding becomes precise. What was once intuition becomes structure. And as you guide someone else, whether a friend, a colleague, or even a stranger online, you gain a deeper sense of ownership over the knowledge, because you're no longer just consuming ideas, you're generating clarity. Teaching also pushes you to anticipate questions, objections, misunderstandings, and alternative perspectives, which expands your thinking beyond your own angle. You learn to view concepts from multiple directions, and that flexibility forms the foundation of true wisdom. Even more, teaching boosts your confidence because it gives you evidence of your competence. You hear yourself explaining something clearly, see the other person's eyes light up with understanding, watch their confusion turn into capability, and in that moment you realize, I really know this. This recognition becomes fuel for confidence, not the shallow confidence built on ego or bravado, but the deep, stable confidence built on capability and contribution. And the more you teach, the more natural it becomes. You start feeling comfortable speaking up, taking initiative, and guiding others. Communication improves, leadership emerges, influence grows. Teaching also develops patience, empathy, and clarity of thought, core traits of people who command respect. Even teaching something simple, like a skill you take for granted, reminds you that mastery is relative and that your knowledge has value. Sharing what you know turns learning into a collaborative journey rather than a solitary pursuit. It transforms your role from a consumer of information to a contributor to others' growth. And something remarkable happens when you contribute. Confidence expands not by thinking about yourself, but by realizing you have something meaningful to offer. In a world where many people hoard knowledge to feel superior, teaching does the opposite. It multiplies value. It lifts others up and lifts you with them. Whether you're explaining a concept to a coworker, creating a tutorial, helping a younger student, or simply offering someone advice based on your experience, you are simultaneously strengthening your understanding and proving your competence. That is why teaching is one of the most powerful engines of growth. It sharpens your mind, elevates your communication, expands your influence, and builds a kind of confidence rooted in real skill. Every time you teach, you reinforce your knowledge, refine your thinking, and remind yourself that you are capable. So don't wait to be perfect before you teach. Teach because the act itself is what will move you toward mastery. 5. Stay hungry and humble. Staying hungry and humble is a powerful combination that keeps your growth continuous, your mind sharp, and your confidence grounded in reality rather than inflated by ego. Hunger fuels your drive, the internal fire that pushes you to improve, learn, build, and evolve. Humility keeps you open, receptive, curious, and willing to see the truth instead of protecting your pride. When these two qualities work together, they form a mindset that is nearly unbeatable. Hunger without humility leads to arrogance, tunnel vision, and stagnation. Humility without hunger leads to timidity and underachievement. But hunger with humility creates a balanced, unstoppable force. To stay hungry means never believing you've arrived. It means refusing to settle, refusing to coast, and refusing to assume that the level you're currently on is your final destination. Hunger pushes you to ask questions like, what more can I learn? How much better can I become? What new skills can I develop? What challenges can I try next? Hunger is about ambition, but ambition grounded in purpose, not insecurity. And yet hunger alone is not enough. Without humility, hunger becomes ego-driven, and ego blinds you to feedback, blinds you to mistakes, blinds you to new knowledge. That's where humility comes in. Humility keeps you teachable. It reminds you that no matter how much you know, there is infinitely more you don't know. It helps you recognize that every person you meet, whether older, younger, more experienced, or less experienced, has something valuable to teach you. Humility frees you from the illusion of superiority and keeps your mind open to growth. It allows you to accept criticism without crumbling, to ask questions without embarrassment, and to admit weaknesses without feeling ashamed. Ironically, humility actually increases confidence because it gives you a realistic understanding of yourself. People often think humility means thinking less of yourself, but true humility simply means thinking accurately of yourself, understanding both your strengths and your limitations. Staying hungry and humble also protects you from one of the biggest traps in life: comfort. When you achieve something, when you gain recognition, money, status, or skill, your mind naturally wants to relax and protect what you've already accomplished. But comfort is the enemy of growth. When you stay hungry, you remain driven. When you stay humble, you remain open. Together, they keep you learning long after others have plateaued. They turn success from a finish line into a foundation. They make you resilient in the face of setbacks because you understand that every failure contains a lesson, and every lesson fuels your next level. Humility keeps your ego light. Hunger keeps your ambition strong. And the result is a confidence built not on pretending you're perfect, but on knowing you're constantly improving. People with a hungry and humble mindset don't brag, they build. They don't show off, they level up. They don't compare, they compete with who they were yesterday. They speak less and do more. They seek truth, not validation. They embrace challenges instead of avoiding them. They ask for help instead of pretending they don't need it. They see life as a never-ending process of refinement, and in that process, they become powerful, capable, and grounded. Staying hungry and humble ensures that no matter how far you go, you remain ready for the next step. You grow with momentum, not arrogance. You rise with curiosity, not pride. And your confidence becomes unshakable because it is built on the knowledge that you are always learning, always improving, and never done becoming who you are meant to be. Competence is the currency of confidence. Invest in your skills and your confidence, and life will grow richer every day.